Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Thursday morning trading room. Now, this is a Thursday before the Easter holiday. There's no trading tomorrow, no trading room on Friday. Given that it's a long weekend, the markets are often a little bit kind of wonky going into a long weekend. So I thought we might use this Thursday as our Rabbit Hole Friday, seeing how last Friday our Rabbit Hole Friday was interrupted. So rather than trade today, I think maybe we'll just take some time and we'll take a look at what I was going to discuss with you last week. There's been various trading competitions over the years, and almost without exception, the two systems that seem to perform best in trading competitions are moving average systems and breakout systems. You wouldn't necessarily think so, especially given the bad rap that breakouts often get, and yet it's true. In fact, one of the most successful traders of all time, Richard Dennis, who is famous for his turtle traders, traded a simple breakout system. In fact, you can learn about Richard Dennis and the Turtle Traders trading system just by doing a simple Google search. Richard Dennis, besides making a fortune trading in the commodities markets, was also famous for his quote that you could publish his trading system in the newspaper and it wouldn't make a difference. Nobody would trade it. Kind of going back to the point where people are more interested not in learning how to make money, but maybe just scratching the curiosity itch. Well, what Richard Dennis used, and one of the simplest ways of using a breakout system, is what is called a Donchian channel. And it is named after a fellow by the name of Richard Donchian, who was a trader back in the 1940s, I think it was 1940s, 1950s. And he was looking at stocks, and he realized that when stocks made a new high or a new low, they kept going. Here we go, Donchian channel. What we'll do is we'll make these lines a little more prominent, maybe change the color. We got a lot of blue going on here. All right, so here we go. This now is your basic Donchian channel, where you've highlighted the highs and the lows of the last X number of periods. The line that runs here through the middle, which surprisingly runs very close to the trend line in the Falcon, would be half the value. So the default values are 14. So this middle line here represents your 7-period high and low. I'm actually quite surprised how closely that tracks to the trend line. Look at that. That's just by coincidence. That's not at all by design. So the way you would trade a Donchian channel is when the market breaches the top end of the channel, you buy. When it breaches the bottom end of the channel, you sell. And a lot of times traders who use Donchian channels will use the center line as a stop loss, or if they're looking for a reversal, they'll maybe use it as an early point to enter a reversal trade. So really very straightforward system. And you can see that a lot of times you can get some very nice follow through, because indeed what is happening is that when the market makes a new high or new low, you are encouraging a lot of new buying and selling. You're going to notice that these lines always seem to form where the market is making one of these reversal bars, right? It's almost always one of these reverse bars. Let me bring this over here now. We'll take a look here. Here's one of the downfalls with the Donchian channel. Here, let's just go to a basic 5-minute chart. In a time-based chart, they don't seem to work as well. Yes, you get some areas here where you get some decent follow through, but you get a lot of this kind of stuff going on, where you get a little bit of a breakout and then no follow through. Actually, this breakout here was pretty good. This one, not bad, but you can see that for the most part, you're not getting a lot of follow through on the breakouts. This is what's given Donchian channels a bit of a bad rap, is people who try to trade them say, oh yeah, you know, I tried to trade Donchian channels and they would break out and they would reverse and stop me out and go the other way. And, you know, sometimes the breakout would work and sometimes it wouldn't. I was actually following Donchian channels quite closely back in the day. And this is when a trading friend of mine said to me, Eric, never trust a breakout. They do seem to work a little bit better when you step back a little bit, at least on your time-based charts. So here now is a daily chart with a simple Donchian channel on it. And you can see that when we do get a breakout occur, it does tend to have a little bit more follow through, although there were some periods here where we would see breakouts followed by reversals. Okay, so why am I telling you about Donchian channels today? Is it just to satisfy your curiosity? I'm sure you've always been wondering, ooh, I wish I knew more about Donchian channels. No, they're actually very effective when combined with the mean Renko bars, or they can be very effective when combined with the mean Renko bars. You know how, not so much the last couple of days, but the days preceding this week, how the market's been so dead sideways and very difficult to trade, and you're looking at your signals, especially say here on a tool like the Raptor, where we're getting the signal prompts and we're wondering, oh gee, should I trade it, should I not trade it? Well, the Donchian channel is a great tool for helping you determine which signals may be worth taking and which ones you should maybe pass on. Okay, I'm just going to reduce the thickness of this center line because it's shadowing the Falcon trend line so closely, just so that we can see some of these signals a little bit more clearly. Okay, so here we have a basic trend change signal on the Falcon, and notice how it coincides with the break of the top end of the Donchian channel here if we were playing this forward real time. Okay, so the trend line, we have a bit of an uptrend, so we're going to be concentrating on buy signals. We have a trend line change. Here's the green, here's the red. Here we're coming back now with another buy signal, and here's the breach of the Donchian channel. That lends a little bit of confidence to perhaps taking this signal. Not just because it's a high probability signal as far as the Falcon is concerned, it is that, but the fact that we're going to make a new period high. I think currently it's set at 14 bars. So we're going to make a new high for the last 14 bars. You can see we had some very decent follow through on that. Let's take a look here at, can I find a signal before a breakout? I'm trying to find an instance where the signal, oh, okay, here, let's take a look at this one. We didn't get the follow through on this signal, but I'm going to point it out just as an example. We didn't get the follow through because you always need to take trend into account. The Donchian channel, you can trade higher or lower, obviously, but never ignore your trend. Okay, so here's an instance. Oh, actually, this is even a better one right here, and this one is with trend. Okay, so here we have an instance where the market is starting to consolidate, right? We bounced off of the low, we bounced off of the low, and here we go with yet another sell signal. It's a valid sell signal. It's a trend change signal. It looks like it's going to be with trend. Should I take it? Shouldn't I take it? Well, here's an instance where the Donchian channel can actually help you stay out of a potentially poor trade by reminding you that this is the period low or the recent period low, and maybe I'll sacrifice a few ticks and enter only when the market makes a new low. So we would have shorted here. It was a late filter entry signal and great follow through on that trade. So very simple, very straightforward, very powerful. Now, the thing with the tool like the Donchian channel, there's not a whole lot to adjust to it other than the cosmetics. The only other adjustment you can make is your period. And this is where traders kind of get sidetracked. You know, they hunt for the perfect period. You can certainly experiment with it. The two most popular settings are 14 periods, which is the default here, or 20 periods. And this goes back actually to a couple of things. If you've often wondered why in the world is the period always set at 14 as a default? Well, that is half of a lunar cycle. So those of you who have followed GAN trading for any time at all know that moon influences and stuff like that are kind of important. Well, anyways, 14 is half of 28. There's 28 days in the lunar month. Another popular setting is 20 periods, and that's because there are 20 trading days within a month. But I have always defaulted to a 25 period. Now, why 25, you ask? Well, it seemed, again, this goes back many, many years ago when I was following Donchian channels more closely. We didn't have range-based charts at the time. We were always following time-based charts. And it seemed like everybody was following either a 14 or a 20. And so what would happen is that I happened to be following a 20. So what would happen is that it was almost as though the market knew you were watching a 20-period chart. And so you would get a breakout on a 20-period chart only to watch the market reverse. I already have shown you how on a time-based charts, you tend to get a lot of bad breakouts. So what I did was I increased the value, and I ended up settling on 25, and that's kind of been my go-to value ever since. So what you can see is with the 25 period, we still get the important breakouts, but we've kind of eliminated the less important breakouts, right? There were signals here that tried to develop that may have cropped up on a 14, but are not displaying on a 25. And that was the whole point of going with a 25 period. Okay, so here, here's an example. We've got perhaps a late filter entry signal developing. Where am I going to enter? Well, I probably will not enter on the hash mark because right now it's starting to look like the market may be going sideways. Or if perhaps the market starts to head higher, this is going to be a trend change signal, so I can get ready on the buy side. And I'll enter right there on a break of the channel. In fact, I need a break of the channel, so we'll just go an extra tick. Now, it's not even a proper trend change signal yet. This is just, we're just focusing on the Donchian channel break. But what is also interesting to me is how well, okay, look at this, how well the market responds to these channels. So here's the Donchian channel. Now we are going to get the proper trend change signal. Here's the move that changed the trend. Here's the counter move. Now we have to wait and see whether we get the with trend move again. We may not, because like I said, this is Thursday before a holiday weekend. Ron, I'm going to get to your question here in just a second. We're just going to try to ride this out here for a moment. See if we actually get a trade. No, I don't think we will. I'm going to leave the short order here on the bottom end of the channel. I don't think we're going to get a signal to coincide. Today it's just that kind of day. But I will show you the Donchian channels on the other tools here in a moment, and I will get to Ron's question. He's asking, why do my charts have huge tails on my mean Renko bars? And we'll go take a look at, you're going to be looking at the data series, Ron. All right, so we're just kind of bouncing back and forth here. We're going to have to do this in hindsight today. All right, before we get into that, I thought maybe we're going to get a signal. So Ron, you're going to right click on your chart and go to data series, or you can use the shortcut up here. I think that one's data series. You want to make sure that your bar style is the mean Renko and that you haven't selected something else. Now, with the Falcon, we have tweaked it a little bit. Instead of the standard 8 by 8, I've actually changed mine to 9 for the trend. That's the body of the bar. By 7, that's the tail size. We found that was a little bit more responsive, but feel free to experiment. You also want to make sure that your chart style is a candlestick. which should be the default. And you want to make sure that your wicks are displayed. That your wick, this color right here, is not black. And that's really all you can do. So you'll apply those, and that should straighten out your wick size. Alternatively, sometimes it happens that when I open up my chart, I will get something like this going on. Here, let's go to a different chart. Where you'll open up your chart and you'll see wicks like this on your bars. Something like that. If that's happening, you can reboot your NinjaTrader. It's just a little glitch when your data loaded. It's related to your data feed, not the software. And it will go away. So not to panic, but if that's what's going on, yeah, it's just something to do with your data feed when you're first loaded. But check your data series and make sure that's all set up correctly first. All right, here, back to the Donchian channel. We're getting a possible trend change signal. Now, note, here's the trend. Well, no, sorry, that's an early trend change signal. All right, let's get ready to short this. Okay. All right, so here now is the trend change signal. It's a little bit difficult to see for the lines, but it occurred right there. And we've broken the bottom end of the Donchian channel. So we're looking for a little bit of a move lower now. And all these other signals that we're developing, well, today's range is relatively narrow, but we wouldn't be paying much attention to those. What I find interesting too with the Donchian channel is that it's a great confirmation tool. And what I mean by that is when you have a lot of things in sync, it really tends to lead to a valid trade or more valid trade opportunity. So, a few weeks back, we were playing here with the Bollinger Band suite. You'll notice that when the Bollinger Band suite and your Donchian channels coincide, you're going to have some fairly reliable breakouts, especially when you combine the signal from your trading tool as well. So here we have Falcon signal right here. We've got a Donchian channel breakout. We've got a bearish Bollinger suite. Like we've just got a few things all, a lot of ducks in a row here. Here was another trend change signal back here. At the time, this trend change signal did not look very promising at all. If anything, we'd be looking at the trend and saying, oh dear, I don't know about that. But we broke the Donchian channel. We had a trend change signal on the Falcon, and the Bollinger suite was bearish, and we easily found our profit objective. Let's see how we're doing on this trade. We're still struggling, but we are hanging in there, and we're about to kiss our profit target. I can bring the trade down to break even, and there we go. So if you're the type of trader who's not really sure about which signals you should take and which ones you should avoid, which ones are going to get you in prematurely, which ones are going to lead to a true breakout, you might consider putting a Donchian channel on your chart. I'm going to do it here on the Raptor, like we don't have enough lines going on already on the Raptor, but let's take a look here. And once again, I'll change the color here, and I'll make the line a little bit more prominent. Okay, it might take a little while for your eyes to adjust. We got a lot of lines going on here. Let's eliminate the ATR lines for today. Okay, so let's adjust the period here a little bit. And again, feel free to experiment with period sizes. I found 25 to be fairly reliable. Now, with the Raptor perhaps a little bit more trend conscious than some of the other tools, but we've got the trading band. We've got signals, like here's a number one signal that developed after a long trend up. How do we know whether we should take that number one signal or whether it's going to fail? We've had a big pullback. We've had a big rally. Here's a number one signal. Do I dare take it? Well, you can see right here, the Donchian channel says that if we trade 77.03, that will be the new high for the last 25 bars. The Bollinger Suite is in sync. We have a high probability signal, so you could set up your trade to take it if we broke above the high. And you can see we broke, had a little hesitation, and then we went up and found our profit objective. And you can experiment with this. You can go through your charts and see for yourself. Here, the number two signal, the counter trend signal, always a tough trade to take. All right, here's the counter trend signal. Here is the second push opportunity, and then you can see the Donchian channel comes down. Now, again, you got to use your own judgment. If you miss the odd trade, it's not a big deal. I'm of the opinion better to miss a trade than to be stuck in a losing trade. But here, once again, we have a counter trend signal. The Bollinger Suite is bullish. We're breaking the top end of the trading range. We have produced another follow-up signal, and we at least got enough out of there to find our profit objective, and it in fact went much higher still. Steve asking a good question. Will it stop at the top of the opposing channel? So do you get the breakouts bouncing back and forth? You can, as you see right here, but it tends to happen when the volume is a little bit thinner. So you can see this happening here through the overnight session, pre-market, pre-London open. And we're getting a little bit of back and forth going on. this, but again, I like to wait for the signal to produce. So back here we had a number 3 signal. You could have planned to short right here. The Bollinger's in sync, the trend in sync, you could have shorted right here, and then the market really not giving you much of a chance on the trade. So it's not foolproof, but again, I think this had more to do with the fact that there wasn't much volume. If you're looking during the day session and you recognize the trend and you recognize the signal, I think you're going to do all right. Even here, had we taken this number 1 signal back here, so here's the number 1 signal, we put our Donchian channel here. Oops, sorry. Now this is just from a user perspective. I tend not to adjust my trade on these little hiccups. Again, I'm of the opinion, for the sake of a couple of ticks, I want to make sure I'm on the right side of the trade. So technically, the signal printed right here. Oop, no, sorry, did it print yet? Oh, no, sorry, my mistake. We didn't get all right, sorry. Got a little sidetracked here. Signal printed back here, Eric. Okay, so the signal printed back here. If we were going to use the Donchian channel as a filter to enter the trade, I would set up my trade something like this. Stop it. Where I'm going to look to enter on a breakout. Then as the Donchian channel adjusts, I tend not to adjust my signal, my entry. So I tend not to say, oh, the Donchian channel has moved up here, so this is now where I should enter the number 1 signal. I don't do that because this is what can happen. You get brought in, and then the market starts to reverse, and it gives you heat, and then you got to hang on and wring your hands and so on and so forth. Rather, I like to look for, a bit of a plateau or a valley, not just the fact that it moved. So I would consider this a little bit of a plateau. I do not consider this little spike as a suitable place to enter. Now that we have this type of plateau going on, I would consider shorting there off of this number 1 signal. So notice, even though the number 1 signal printed, I'm actually not in the trade yet. Now we're following up with a number 3 signal, and I would consider entering below that line right there. Here's another number 3 signal. Note the little spike up. I would not use that little spike. Rather, I would use this low from the plateau to enter the trade. And now I would finally be brought in, and that's the time we get the follow through. So it's such a simple trading tool, but honestly, I find it's a very powerful tool when you're looking at it through the lens of something like the mean Renko bar. This would have happened, say, like on a 5-minute chart as well, but it's not as reliable. I've already shown you how on a time-based chart you get a lot of back and forth, a lot of choppiness. Here, let's just randomly, pick a spot. Okay, so we'll stop right here, and let's just see how it plays out. Okay, we have a number 2 signal. It did not print, but it is a number 2 signal. We have a downtrend. We have a test of the extreme. We've printed a possible reverse. So there's the number 2 signal. It did not print as a number 2 because it's too far away from the lows. But now the Donchian channel is starting to say, hey, wait a minute, Eric. We're about to make a relatively significant high. So if I were inclined to try this counter trend trade, okay, the Bollinger Suite is in sync. It looks like we've got a number 2 signal. What would happen if we tried to buy above there? And this is how you're going to learn. You just roll back in your chart somewhere, pick a moment, because this is what it's like when you're trading, and see, excuse me, and see how it would play out. All right, so here we come back with yet another signal. The Bollinger Suite is still bullish. All right, now we have a proper number 2 signal because of this additional little hiccup that developed. All right, so now we're long. And let's see, where would I forget what our entry price is right here. So 76.82. We need a profit target at 87. 87.25. All right. And so now we play it forward and we see how well did this work. I'm going to keep an eye here on the Bollinger Suite. All right, we got a little bit of heat going on. Not quite to the profit target yet. Oh, things starting to get a little bit more bearish here. It may almost be time to roll up our stops. Is the original trend going to resume? That's the big question. Oh, now we've got the with trend. So at this point, I would probably consider bringing my stops up, maybe below this little area right here. And right now it's not looking that promising. So it looks like trend may actually trump here and continue lower. All right, so that one didn't work out. But what did we learn from that? Well, we learned that, perhaps counter trend trades are best avoided. All right, so now here's the number 3 signal. So perhaps the with trend signal. Bollinger's not in sync yet, but you can kind of forecast that if the market trades below this bottom end of the channel, they will be in sync. So let's see how that plays out. Okay, here now another number 3 signal off the faster hard edge. So there it's printing. Looks like the Bollingers are going to be in sync on a potential break. There we go. Where did we get short from? We got short from 74.75. So we need 69.75. Oh, see the Bollinger Suite flipping over again. Oh, I see what's going on here. I just looked at the timestamp. We're bouncing back and forth because this is after hours. So we're not getting a whole lot of market participation. So that's kind of standard for after hours. You're going to get a lot of back and forth. But I encourage you to try it. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised when you take a look at how it responds during regular trading hours, even on the counter trend trades. And like I said, here's an instance where, okay, we're going to get a hard edge bounce signal. Is this a hard edge bounce signal we want to take? Well, we violated the 12 period, or I guess 12 and a half period low, but we certainly haven't taken out the 25 period low. So you could look at maybe doing a second push on this one rather than Again, depending how aggressive you want it to be on this trade. I tend not to be, because the whole point, if I'm going to have a Donchian channel on my chart, is I don't want to get into a trade when the market's not ready to trend. To me, it seems like it may be more likely that we're going to get a reverse and maybe an opportunity to buy a number 2 signal, because we're kind of hovering in that top half of the Donchian channel. Okay, so the number 2 signal printing now. But again, I don't want to take it until I take out the recent high. And we've done this in the room before, even without Donchian channels. We've done it with second push opportunities, just looking at nearby bars. So once again, we got a few things in sync here. Our Bollinger Suite is in sync. We're making a new period high. Okay, a little bit of a pushback. Again, counter trend, right? Counter trend trades always a little dicey. I think this one's going to work out though. We had a nice move higher here. And on the next bull bar, I will be a little bit more aggressive with my stops. We're into the hard edge too. This is usually where we anticipate something resembling a reaction. And if this is in fact has been a bit of a downtrend, which it has been, a lot of times the market needs a little bit of room to turn around. Come on, get going. So the Bollinger Suite here is starting to get relatively neutral. And that's sometimes a signal that I want to start getting more aggressive with my stops. So if I get anything resembling a bull bar here, I'm going to start rolling my stops up. So now I'm going to roll below anything with a tail. Well, are they going to kick it down again? Okay. Well, I did have a chance there to take the trade to break even. I decided just to leave the $20-$30 in play there, see if it would work. But there you go. There's your basic how to trade with Donchian channels. Now we're getting a hard edge bounce. And so where am I going to enter? I'm not going to I'm not going to short it until it can show that it can make a new low. Even though this is a hard edge bounce, this is a number 3 signal. Did not print as a number 3 signal because the band is just slightly twisted here. But that's what it is. It's a number 3 signal. If they rally, it may turn out that my stops were a little bit too tight, but I don't know. The Bollinger Sweep's already turned a little bit bearish. The bands, obviously, we're in a downtrend here. Trend is so important. You know, if you want to improve your trading, the single best thing you can do for your trading is to pay attention to trend. Very, very important. Cannot be overstated. We're probably getting a trend change signal here on the Falcon. Oh no, it's spoiled a little bit. So once again, you know, using the Donchian channel as a bit of a filter, here was a trend change signal. It did not engage because we couldn't get above the top end. Now we're just kind of flip-flopping here on the trend line. And once again, that has more to do with the fact that this is Thursday before a holiday Friday, a 3-day holiday. We're not going to see, or I doubt we're going to see any monster moves here today. We'll hang with this last trade, and then I think we'll close up shop, enjoy an early, long weekend. Unless anybody has any questions, like I say, Donchian channels are so dead simple. Richard Dennis, when he was doing the Turtle Traders, I believe they used a 50 period, but once again, they would have been trading a daily chart. All right, here now the number 1 signal telling us that the trend has resumed or is trying to resume. Order pending. And look at that. Look at how it's hesitating because, you know, this is a significant low back here. Okay, let's get our stop loss in play. Order pending. We'll see if we get any kind of follow through from this. Getting a little bit of pushback now from these lows right here, actually where our profit target is. In hindsight, it might have been advisable to take it a little bit earlier, even though this was a little bit more of a peak than a plateau. But there's enough in here I can get the trade to break even, and voila, we have hit the profit target. And you can just see it added like a little extra layer of confidence to the signal. And even, this counter trend signal, I should have perhaps been a little bit more aggressive with my stops, given that we were encountering the hard edge. Remember, your counter trend signal, the target is always the hard edge of the trading band. Now, here's something interesting. You're often looking for another place to get into a market. Well, oops, not buy. When you get another little plateau type developing, and we don't have a signal here, but ideally I would want to see another signal coincide with the breaking of this plateau. But I just want to point it out to you that when you're looking for additional places to get into a trade, very often these little plateaus that develop during the trend make an ideal place to look to re-enter. And again, ideally I would like to see a signal develop here. We didn't get it on the Raptor. I'm just pointing it out to you as an example. Little hesitation, so I'll pull the stops into break even. All right, no follow through off of that, no doubt, because we didn't really have a signal printing. But you will find that will happen sometimes. Say you miss the initial move and you're kicking yourself and you're saying, oh no, why didn't I get in when I had the chance? Well, sometimes you'll get these little plateaus develop. You'll get a signal printing, and that will be a fairly decent place to try to get back on board with a trending trade. Oh, way to go. Mark says that was a late filter entry signal on his Ninja 7. Mark, have you been playing with the brick sizes at all here on Ninja 8? So let's take a look at the signal. So it was this signal right here. Is that the one? Yeah, okay, so that's one. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to play with the brick size a little bit, see if we can't get that trend line to remain solid. So the natural value is 8 by 8. So I tend to try to stay with the same 16 tick range. So let's try a 10 by 6 and see what that does. No. Let's try going the other way. Let's go back to an 8 by 8. Okay, there we go. Oh, okay. The 8 by 8, it showed up on that one. All right, maybe we'll have to experiment with a few here. I had gone to the 9 by 7. Ben always told me, no, Eric, he says the 8 by 8 is the same as the Ninja 7 mean Renkos. All right, maybe I'll leave it on 8 by 8 for a little while. All right, gang. Does anybody have any questions about what we were going over today? Otherwise, I think we're going to close up shop here this morning. Oh, Ron says I'm using a 4x4 and doing okay on the Falcon. Yeah, the 4x4, it's just going to produce a few more signals. Same idea, though. Yeah, and Ron says I'm scalping. All right, gang. Well, enjoy your long weekend. Stay safe, and I will see you on Monday. Hey, Ron, nicely done. Ron says, I'm up $405 today. Ron, on a Thursday before a holiday weekend, give yourself a pat on the back. That is a good job. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you on Monday. Have a great weekend. See you then. Bye.